back, everyone. This week in pro football. Joining you here on JAKIB Sports as we present week 2 of the National Football League, which begins with Miami hosting Buffalo. As I mentioned, I think it's a big game for Miami. Not as big for Buffalo. It's a road game. I think Miami's supposed to win it. We'll see if they do. Josh Allen, just unstoppable. Here's another guy that's unstoppable. That is the host of the NFL Matchup Show, the author of How Football Explains America. And that would be Sal Paolantonio. Safe and sound back from Sao Paulo. Sal, how you doing?
Pat, it was a great trip. It was a long trip, but it was a lot of fun. They rolled out the red carpet for us. And, of course, the Eagles coming back 3 times to win the game. That made it very exciting. The crowd was great. Yeah. We were treated great by ESPN Brazil. Got nothing but good things to say about how we were treated. Of course, we were in the NFL cocoon, different from normal in country, but I really enjoyed being part of history for sure.
Good. And I really liked your interview with Jalen Hurts after the game. I thought that was very impromptu and very spontaneous. Hurts did say he's looking to get out of Dodge though at 9. It's better to get on a 9-hour flight with a win. I guess he's certainly right about that.
Good to get a win when you got a long ass flight is the quote.
That's the quote, right? Right.
Yeah, but like it's got about, I don't know, 6 or 7 million YouTube views at this point, Pat. It's crazy.
All right, Sal, just a quick look back at that game. I think it was a lot to like from the game offensively. Tell me what you really liked about it, where you thought the Eagles shone, and where you thought maybe there were some things got to get worked on.
Well, I think first and foremost, when Nick Sirianni said, Pat, that the team showed resilience and toughness, I think that's the truth. I really do, because last year they wouldn't have come back like they did. And I think that's primarily due to Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley lifts all boats, including Jalen Hurts. This is a veteran player who has great talent and great work ethic, and his ability to run the ball. You saw the great vision that he had. I talked to him after game. He said, it's one thing to run in practice and in training camp, but it's another to see the holes open up, the holes that he has never seen before. That offensive line in the Giants is just mediocre to poor most of the time. And here you have one of the top 3 offensive lines in the National Football League. Right. So Barkley's ability to bail them out was key. Coming back. And then, of course, let's not forget something about the defense. So the defense was handed a short field on 3 turnovers, and they only gave up 9 points off of those turnovers. They held the Packers. I had to look at this number because I didn't know if it was right. The Packers on 3rd down were 3 for 11. That's 27%. You're going nowhere in the National Football League if your 3rd down percentage on offense is under 30%.
Yeah.
And so, the Eagles weren't much better, but they had some big plays and they had some long sustained drives, and they had better time of possession. The downside is the Jalen Hurts turnovers.
Yeah.
He had, previous to that, he had never won a game in his professional career with 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
And last year, NFL quarterbacks were 5-24 when they turned the ball over 3 or more times. Wow. It's very, very rare to win a game when you turn the ball over 3 times, and they all know it. And when I did that interview, if you watched it, he quickly pivots. I congratulate him about winning the first game ever in South America. Right. And he pivoted the interview for me. We got a lot to clean up, a lot of mistakes beginning with me. He understands it's not sustainable.
Yeah. The end zone pick was probably the most egregious of them because it robbed them of at least 3 points. But let me just, Saquon, 24, 109, 2 touchdowns, touchdown reception. You mentioned how I guess he thinks he's got a get out of jail free card, having come from New York. This guy, I always thought, Sal, he was a really, really good running back. You think there's enough gas left in that tank for him to rumble this way all season long?
Well, let's remember he's really never had to play a 17-game season and then play in the playoffs.
Right.
So this is new for him.
Right.
So they're going to have to make use of Shipley and Gainwell in order to make sure that Barkley's available in December and January when they're going to really need to run the football.
That's right.
And the other thing is that Jalen Hurts will have to pick it up with some of his carries.
Yeah.
So gas in the tank is one thing. What I saw, Pat, there was a patient runner, a runner that had good vision, a runner that had good shiftiness in the hole, the ability to get skinny when he needed to get to the hole and then get skinny and get out of the hole.
Right.
So all of the traits of great running back was there.
Yeah. That's interesting, Sal. And on the defensive side, I thought the red zone defense was terrific. And I think the game turned on that. The Packers were just completely ineffectual in the red zone, which I think one thing is of course, is a result of no one plays in the preseason. So specialty things like that don't get practiced. And the Packers looked terrible in the red zone, but the defense stood up when it had to.
Yeah, like I said, 9 points off the 3 turnovers. The Packers were 1 for 4 in the red zone. Again, you're not going to win many games 1 for 4 in the red zone. The Eagles were better in the red zone, and that was the key. The Packers, Jordan Love was inaccurate many times.
Yeah.
We talk about the turnovers for Jalen Hurts. Let's just remember a couple of things, however. Pat, that was a rough trip.
That's true.
Pat, that was a rough trip. So you put those guys on a plane after they got lectured about how dangerous it was.
Right.
You sequester them in a hotel.
Right.
They're on completely foreign soil. They've never seen the stadium or the turf before. And they got to go out there and play a game. Of course, it's going to be sloppy at the beginning. Now, when I saw the turf on Thursday, it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they watered it Friday before the game.
Mm-hmm.
They watered it.
Yeah.
They had sprinkler heads pop up and they watered it,
Right.
and it got wet.
Yeah. There you go. All right, Sal. It was great that you called last week or we hooked up with us from Sao Paulo. That was a lot of fun. And much more mundane this week as we pivot to Monday Night Football. But it strikes me, Sal, that it was a year ago, week 2, Kirk Cousins came with the Vikings to Philadelphia and lit them up. Cousins has that ability, doesn't he? The ability to all of a sudden just get hot within a game and start to just throw footballs all over the place, which, Sal, I think he's going to have to do plenty of come Monday night.
Well, he didn't look mobile against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He
just did not.
No.
He can say that his Achilles is not bothering him, but I didn't see the boot action, play action, run action, all that mobility stuff that is his calling card as a player.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
So as a result, the Steelers didn't score a touchdown, but won the game on the road, which is insane.
They didn't score a touchdown and won by more than a touchdown. It's not easy to do.
No, it's not easy to do. So the Falcons are, as we say, a work in progress. I don't see them giving the Eagles much of a game. I really don't, Pat. The Eagles have too much firepower on offense. It's home.
Yeah.
I just don't. But
it's funny, Sal, isn't it, that the Falcons were kind of a preseason darling pick?
Not for me, they were not. I had the Bucs all the way in that division.
That's looking much stronger now because, Baker Mayfield is a new man. He is. And he's throwing darts all over the place. I think the Falcons disappointed. They had 236 total yards against the Steelers. And a Steelers team with an absolutely juvenile offense, and they still couldn't do anything, even with the field position they were getting. So I think I agree. It could be a long night for the Falcons. Let's get it. Can we get around the lake here, Sal, for a few minutes?
Sure.
My Thursday night game this week, Miami at Buffalo. I've already opined twice here that this is a bigger game for Miami than Buffalo, because I think Miami is being looked upon as this is a year where they could finally win that division and wrest it from Buffalo after a long run by New England. Do you like Miami here?
No, I don't. Miami's lost 10 of 11 to Buffalo. It's an absolute must win for Miami. I totally agree with you, Pat. I mean, you're home, short week, Thursday night game.
Yeah.
You got to win this game if you're Miami, but I don't like them to win it at all. They never have success against Josh Allen at the end of the year last year went in there and beat them and robbed the Dolphins of the division. Remember that?
I do. I do. And as you mentioned that stat, which is even worse than the one I have, which is Tua is 1-6 against Buffalo. I think it's a huge game for Miami. We'll see how it plays out for them.
There's a lot of must-win teams in week. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but if you go 0-2, your chances of making the postseason drop precipitously.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you three of them, Sal, that I think are in danger of doing that. Cincinnati, which looked horrible last week, now travels to Kansas City. I don't know. Any given Sunday, like they always say, but I think that's a tough call for Cincinnati to avoid 0-2.
I agree, must win, but I don't see it happening. What else you got?
I got Green Bay, 0-1. Now they were looked upon as a team that might challenge Detroit. They've got. I said in the first segment, Sal, I think they got the worst backup quarterback in the NFL. A kid who started 3 times and has never topped 100 yards passing. Hosting Indianapolis, not a formidable opponent. I think there's a real chance Green Bay loses this game.
They can't lose that game. Absolute must win. You're right. Chicago has won. Minnesota has won. Detroit is tough.
Yeah.
They got to win that game. They got to hold the fort until Jordan Love gets back. The only thing that they can do is just try to run, and win the time of possession and win field position. Yeah. But if he throws it to the other team, they're sunk. The other one is obvious. The Jets. Yeah. The Jets are that's my number one team that cannot lose this week.
Right.
The Jets. They are playing a mediocre Tennessee team.
Right.
And boy, oh boy, 0-2, the bloom will be off that rose, 100% off of it.
That is correct. They've got, and I tell you, Aaron Rodgers is obviously he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He doesn't lack for arrogance, and he better back this game up. This is an Aaron Rodgers game here where he has to make sure the Jets win this game, and we'll see if he does that.
But here's the big problem. If you remember, Tennessee ran the ball all over last year teams that had this same kind of defense.
Oh, yeah.
So Brian Callahan and his dad know how to run the stretch run play from San Francisco.
Yes.
They can do it in their sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what victimized Robert Saleh and the Jets defense on Monday night.
Which I think was a surprise to everybody. A lot of talk about that.
Why would it be a surprise? The Jets were bad against the run last year.
No, but again, it's just all preseason expectations were that the Jets were going to have a top 5 defense and we're going to roll. And now that
they just roll out these cliches and expect people.
Sal, one team I want to get your opinion on that's 0-1 is.
By the way, I got the This Week in Pro Football cocktail glasses. Thank you very much. That was very nice.
Right. That's right.
Coming to a garage sale near you, Pat.
Now we'll strike that one from the minute, Sander. Okay. Sal, one last 0-1 team very dear to my heart is my beloved Rams, who put up a hell of a fight Sunday night, I thought, in Detroit.
They did.
And lost the game. But now they go to Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be a tougher out than they have been in the past. I don't think the Rams want to go 0-2 here.
Must win for the Rams, no question. They're seriously banged up, as you said in the open. But, this is why Sean McVay gets paid the big bucks.
That's right.
And by the way, you're right about the Chargers.
Yeah.
Chargers were my preseason pick to make the playoffs this year.
All right.
Yep. Because everything about the Chargers in that game looked well coached.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think he brings that kind of influence, and that's a team that's been starved for a good head coach for a number of years.
Yes,
now. And I think he brings an air of sobriety to that team that they've been sorely lacking.
Well, it's like a combination of things. First of all, his alignment and assignment football is ingrained in his DNA because his dad was a coach, his brother's a coach. They're playing alignment and assignment football. Guys are going to be in the right spot. Right. You're not going to commit stupid penalties. 1, 2, we're going to start with the offensive line. That's it. The offensive line is going to do its job, protect the quarterback, open holes for the running back, and we're going to run the ball when they expect us to pass it, and we're going to pass the ball when they expect us to run it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really simple on offense, and then we're going to go get the quarterback. Yeah. And, that's the sobriety part of it. Yeah. But I hear that he's fiery with the guys because he just came out of college, and a lot of the young players react well to that. Justin Herbert said, I wasn't prepared for the pregame speech of how intense it was.
Yeah.
So there's a combination of things there that I think have worked well early,
Yep. Chargers are going to have to go out of their way not to be 2-0, so they play at Carolina. The other thing I wanted to mention to you before I let you go is I wanted to get your opinion on the Dak contract, 4-year deal, a measly $240 million. But Jerry really negotiated hard. Only 230 of it's guaranteed. So there's $10 million at stake here for Dak Prescott. But were you surprised at all by it, either the timing of it or the duration or amount?
When I was a political reporter, we used to call that kabuki theater. In other words, I think that whole thing was played out so that the contract would be announced on day one of the season and they would steal the thunder. Okay. I really do.
All right.
Because there's no way the negotiations were tough if the guy got the most money ever for any quarterback. It's just not possible. Right. What are we talking about here? They were negotiating over the last $1 million to see if he was better. It was getting more money than Deshaun Watson by $1 million. What are we talking about? So listen, that be that as it may, as Dak Prescott said, and I've said to you many times, I said it to you this summer on your program on 1210, the money is there. The players deserve it.
Right.
I'm all for the players getting as much money as they possibly can. He's going to have to pay Micah Parsons next, and that's okay. That Forbes just came out with a list of the most wealthy franchises worth the most. Dallas Cowboys are number one at $10 billion. Okay. So you were a CFO of a major company. Do the math. It's there. The money is there.
I wonder, Sal, if Bum Bright's still alive. He sold this thing to Jerry Jones for whatever he sold it for. It's now worth $10 billion. I hope he has free seats at Jerry World.
But the money is there, and that's what is so annoying to New York Giants fans. The money is there to give Saquon Barkley.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. You paid the wrong guy.
That's right. They played Danny Dimes.
And I covered that game. I traveled from Brazil, landed in Philadelphia Saturday night, drove up the Turnpike Sunday morning, and covered that game to be on Sunday NFL Countdown. And the Giants are a non-functioning football team on both sides of the ball. Yeah. They're worse than Carolina because at least they have the hope that Bryce Young may turn into something. Right. Daniel Jones, no hope. No hope.
I think so. I think you're right.
You're a non-functioning team.
Long year in New York. And talk about going 0-2. They're in Washington, 2-0-1 teams. Commanders better hold serve there. If they do, I think it's going to get ugly quick in New York, in North. The
only thing, maybe Drew Lock is still hurt with that hip injury. Otherwise, he's got to go in.
Yeah. Interesting.
Danny Jones had no answer for anything. Seemed to have lost all of his confidence.
Oh, God. All right, listen, Sal Pally, it's an excellent segment. Thank you very much for joining me, and look forward to obviously seeing you next week. Now, the matchup show this weekend, make sure you check it out Saturday and Sunday. Any particular focus you guys doing on the show this week?
Oh, we're going to focus on Saquon Barkley, of course, number 26. We are going to focus on the Dallas Cowboys and what Mike Zimmer has done to that Dallas defense in short order. That's a serious deal for Eagles fans to watch. No question about that. But Pat, we have made history, Pat. Back-to-back appearances on This Week in Pro Football from two different continents.
That's right. That's right. Well done. We won't make a habit of it, Sal, I promise. We'll keep it domestic. But thanks very much for joining me tonight. All right,
Pat.
All right. Great Sal Paolantonio joining me there. Make sure you check out Sal's over the weekend, the NFL matchup show. And, of course, he'll be on ESPN over the weekend. All right, listen, when we get back, the great Sean Green is going to join me. Sean took the week off last week. I'm sure he's dried out by now. So we'll talk to Sean, and we'll talk about some props and picks next on This Week in Pro Football.